A hardened criminal, a drug dealer? No. The police had to handcuff this 6-year-old little girl because she was misbehaving in school. Police say they were called because the child was allegedly tearing items off the wall and throwing furniture, just throwing a tantrum. Take a listen.
We were called to Creekside Elementary, which is located inside the city of Milledgeville, to assist with an unruly juvenile who had damaged other students' property, school property, and had injured the principal. The officer made contact with the principal and counselor and the student inside the principal's office. A brief conversation between the officer and principal revealed the damage done by the student, as well as the student trying to run away from the school several times. The officer noted all the damage, placed the students in handcuffs for the student's safety as well as others.
All right, it's my question of the day. What do you think is the best way for a school to handle an out-of-control 6-year-old? Twitter, Facebook, phone calls, 877-TEL-HLN. Joining me tonight, Shannon Flounnory, the principal of Stonewall Tell Elementary School, not the school involved in this case. And Melanie Snare is back with me, host of Atlanta Mom. Thank you both. I want to start on the phone lines, though, with Tiffany in Florida. Good evening, Tiffany.
Good evening. How are you?
All right. So what is the best way to handle an out-of-control 6-year-old?
Well, first off, I wanted to know how many times has his parents been in contact of this little girl? She obviously is out of control, has no respect for authority, and couldn't be controlled.
Right.
Nowadays, too many kids do as they please, and they have no consequences.
Okay, so you are pro-handcuffs, Tiffany.
Yeah, I actually have called the police on my son when he was 6 because he refused to go to school, and once he seen the police came out and they weren't playing, I haven't had a problem since. All
right, Tiffany, thanks so much for the call. Thanks for watching. Woo! Shannon.
Wow.
You're there in the trenches, right? What do you think is the best way? You got to. I mean, 6-year-olds. Right. There are some. They're going to throw a tantrum. They're going to be out of control.
Right.
What do you do?
Well, I think first of all, you have to determine the degree by which the student is in fact out of control. If it escalates to the point where it is a safety issue, if the student is throwing furniture, now you have a situation of the risk of harming either other students, the staff, or the student. Within his or herself. That is what we have to determine when we're deciding what we're going to do specifically. Now, in this particular case, from the outside, I mean, this looks really bad. I'm thinking that a 6-year-old is being handcuffed. However, I am 228 pounds, 5'11". I don't think that a 6-year-old will cause a physical threat for me. However, each individual principal has to make that assessment to determine the appropriateness of calling for assistance. Let me give you an example. Let's say this principal did decide that she was going to try to restrain this child. The child pulls away and gets a mark on her. Now the story would be the principal has attacked this child, and we have another twist to the news story. Now, at the point the principal calls the police have an obligation. If the police made the decision to take the child into custody, then they have an obligation to ensure that that child's safety and well-being are intact. So once they take that child into custody, and I've worked in law enforcement as a police officer prior to coming into education, once someone is taken into custody, we have to protect that person. And if that officer determines that we have to handcuff this person, then that has to be done. Because if that child is in that police car and injures him or herself, if the child...
The police get in trouble, there's a lot surrounding this.
You're absolutely right. And most municipalities have policies in place. So the police actions, in my opinion, were very, very much within the protocols of most law enforcement agencies.
All right. I want to share with you, Melanie. I got a note from my 8-year-old son, Max, and he has an answer to my question of the day. And here it is. And he says, there's Max right there. You talk to them and ask them what is going wrong, then you try to make them feel better. Melanie, how about that?
That's great wisdom from an 8-year-old. I think that's coming from you then. That must be how you handle situations with him. I agree with your son. I mean, obviously, things were out of control, and, you know, at the heart of this, I think everyone's safety is definitely most important, but I do find it hard to believe that as adults you couldn't control the 6-year-old and get it under control without having to take it to the level that it did. As a parent, if I got a phone call that, oh, your child, you need to go pick them up at the police station, I would be livid. You know, it's like, how could you not have handled this situation? But then at the same time, it makes me wonder if this child has a good, positive parenting role model in their life, because I feel that a child would not act out in that manner if they...
Yeah, and there is, you know, there's a safety of everyone involved, including the child herself and all the other kids. Karen is in Texas. Good evening, Karen. What do you think is the best way to control an out-of-control 6-year-old at school?
I think the school district and the police handled the problem exactly the way they needed to.
Okay, fair enough, Karen. Thanks so much for watching. Here's what folks are saying on Facebook. Robert on Facebook. I think maybe we need to teach them young that if you get out of control later in life, this is the consequences you will have to face it as an adult. And Dawn on Facebook. She might have had a tantrum for a good reason, and once parents came, they would be able to understand what she was going through. Connie on Facebook, school and police did the right thing. People need to stop being enablers and hold these kids accountable. 6 years old. Tammy on Facebook, maybe it's the only way to keep the child from hurting herself or others. And obviously, we hope all our teachers and our law enforcement all are hoping to keep everyone safe. That's the job, and she ended up being safe, but how traumatic is all of it? Shannon, great to have you on the program. We're going to have you on a lot, man. You're like a 2-for-1.
Well, thanks. I appreciate
Principal
that.
and a former cop. I love it. Thanks so much.
Thank you for having me.
And Melanie, of course, we'll have you back. You're
so
just
much.
around the corner. Thank you so much, Melanie. All right, Jane Velez Mitchell, who's coming up at the top of the hour with Jane Velez Mitchell. What are you working on tonight, Jane?
Well, Vinny, we've got a very disturbing breaking news story. A news conference held a little while ago in the case of a missing private first class, Kelly Bordeaux, a beautiful 23-year-old, very petite woman. We're talking 5 feet, 99 pounds. She went out to have a good time Friday night, has not been seen since 1:20 Saturday, 1:20 a.m. Saturday. We are going to talk to her mother and her sister in a little while. Her sister is frantically searching, has gone to Fort Bragg area. And again, this happening in the community of Fort Bragg, a lot of concern. Where is Kelly Bordeaux? We're going to try to help find her.
All right, that's tonight, top of the hour. Jane Velez Mitchell, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And have you ever thought about what your obituary would say about you? Probably want a lot of nice things, right? Well, there's a Colorado man who disagreed. He wanted his obituary to tell the truth and nothing but the truth. You'll hear it next.